Okay, so welcome back to the Kandy Fontaine Show. I am super excited. I'm Alex S. Johnson, editor, publisher, writer, performer, and I've worked with everybody from Jarabo and Carrie Lee Chrome from the co-founder of the Runaways to David J. Haskins from Bauhaus and Lucifer Fulci from Penis Flytrap featuring uh, Dinah Cancer from 45 Grave, Castration Squad, and some other bands. So I've worked with all these people as a publisher, editor, interviewed them, etc. And so my special guest today is none other than Marc Gaffney from, is it Gozu or Gazu?
Yep, Gozu. Yeah.
Gozu. Okay, so that's good. I hit it, I hit it right off the bat.
Yeah,
It,
right.
it would be maybe like I'm not a superstitious person, but if I got that wrong, well, it's Japanese, right? So it's
Yes,
pretty
yep, you're
much
exactly. Yep.
yeah. So what is it? What does it mean, Mark?
Means cowhead.
Oh yeah.
But
So
yeah, and there was also a Takeshi Mike movie. And
oh
Doug is a huge fan, so that's where the name
I
comes from.
I fucking love Takeshi Mike. I mean, Miike, I guess.
Yeah.
So many of his films, so many classics, Battle Royale,
Hmm.
which was basically became what the Hunger Games or something,
Yeah,
or
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. From
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting because you have some classic movies from other countries are
totally.
transformed into
Yeah,
American movies and then
right.
they're transformed again into other, like for instance you have the Magnificent Seven, which was the Seven
Yep,
Samurai, that
exactly.
and
Yeah.
that became which was and then there was for a few dollars more,
Yep.
I think, which is originally a Kurosawa film.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, all
well,
were taken.
and speaking of, so I've also because I'm also kind of wired on coffee. I haven't
Right.
had any serious substances since Lemmy adjacent substances since
There you go.
many years. But so yeah, or one of our authors is a guy named John Shirley, and he wrote a little film called The Crow, right, which was very much inspired by westerns
Yeah.
and noir films. And he also, he writes lyrics from time to time for a little known band called, Bloister Cult. So
Right. Oh,
I'm really, really, I mean, it's incredible that we have, contributors like John
totally.
here. And I, so anyway, so we're going into kind of, The Crow famously was the product of trauma. I mean, it was
Hmm.
James O'Barr, and then it was turned into a film which was co-written by John Shirley and David J. Scow, who also wrote who's one of the founders of the splatterpunk genre and wrote Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Leatherface, the
Oh,
original,
the
not
original.
the reboot.
Right, right.
So I got this little write-up that I'm going to be right back and see if I can multitask, which I'm not terribly proficient at. Okay, so I'm looking at my little thing that I wrote up. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is Marc Gaffney from GOZU. GOZU, the Boston stoner fuzz rock powerhouse, returns on May 15th with their long-awaited sixth studio album, GOZU 6, released through Blacklight Media Metal Blade Records, known for their molten blend of 70s infused fuzz riffs, soulful vocal grit, and heavy groove swagger. GOZU has carved out a singular place in modern heavy rock, a band equally fluent in deep emotion and deep pocket. That's for sure. Frontman Marc Gaffney, who I have with me today, um, wrote much of GOZU 6 during a period of personal upheaval, channeling late night self therapy sessions into lyrics that cut close to the bone. That's very metal phrase, right?
Yes.
I was pretty roughed up emotionally while writing. He says I'd work, hit the gym, come out, eat, and come home, eat, and then play guitar until I went to bed. That intensity saturates the album's 8 tracks, produced and mixed by Benny Grotto at Boston's Mad Oak Studios. The band's chemistry, Gaffney, vocals, guitar, Doug Sherman lead guitar, Seth Bodos drums, and Joseph Grotto bass, remains the engine of their sound. Gozo's method is simple and devastatingly effective, I'll say. Soulful melodies, thick riff mechanics, and grooves that hit like a meteor but move like a dance floor invitation. Yeah. Critics have praised their ability to merge heavy metal's force with the emotional clarity of classic rock, calling their work an intoxicating metal musical stew and utter triumph. With GOZU 6, the band leans into a more straightforward, guitar-driven, emotionally raw approach. The first single, Banachek, channels the galloping spirit of Iron Maiden Steve Harris, while weaving in the lush vocal harmonies inspired by Jellyfish, a collision of influences that feels both relevant and unmistakably GOZU. We don't mind if people call us stoner, doom, heavy, or I'm talking to Mark himself, so I don't need to quote you. So my first question,
Yep.
Mark, is you said that you were pretty roughed up emotionally while writing
Yeah.
Ghost of Six. How did that vulnerability shape the riffs, the vocal delivery, or the overall emotional temperature of the record?
So so usually when I write, um, usually when we do an album, I'll write something and like a week before, we go to the studio, I just will tear everything up and
Yeah,
just rewrite the whole fucking album.
right.
This one, while I was going through everything, I would keep a pad literally right next to my bed. I was living in this shithouse apartment
Yeah,
by myself. So I would just write, like something would come into my mind, and instead of me, going and, crushing like a 12 pack or something, instead I would
yeah,
write. And I wouldn't like mask anything. Just, I was like, let me put this to paper. Or even, if I was driving, I would just, talking to my phone,
you're right.
stuff would hit me. So when we had all the music done, I went back to these sheets and was like, wow, I wasn't sure if I was going to use it, but after I, read like the first line, I was like, this is very, obviously it's all very honest. You kind of know where you are when I was writing it.
Yeah,
It really, I could tell because I would have dates and such also by. And I would write like, verse or try this for a bridge, try this for a chorus.
yeah.
And literally, if it was in me, I just would write it down. And I didn't sing any of these tunes until we actually went to the studio. So the first
Wow.
time, anyone had heard this come out of my mouth was literally, we're laying on the drums and I'm doing, my rough vocal.
Hmm.
Uh, and I just had to, kind of let the way I was feeling dictate lyrically or where I wanted this album to go. And it's the most honest stuff that I have written.
Hmm.
The things that I, musically, like Cordelia, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
I was like that and Midnight Express were two of the things that I had written, pretty probably like, maybe a year and a half ago. And what Doug and I do when we're writing is, we always will just literally record to our phones. I'll send him, right, and he sends it
Hmm.
back. And when I sent him Cornelia with some vocals,
Hmm.
he just emailed me back. He's like, "That's one of the saddest fucking things I've ever heard."
Oh,
And so I just went with what I had instead of like second guessing what I had written and just
hmm.
being like, this sucks. And after reading, through and like putting things together, even though it was as sad as it was, I had, when we had the music, it was really easy for me to be like, this will go great, with this riff, or I'm thinking this will go great with this, if we're playing more of like a chord structure for a
Oh,
chorus or,
right, right.
verse. So it really kind of, it was almost through osmosis, I
Hmm.
was able to think and literally put my hand with the pen and just wrote. And everything that you hear and that you're reading is stuff that I was going through at that time. It
Yeah.
sucked. But I wanted something, to be very honest and to be very true. I can kind of, I can only write about things I'm going through. You
Yeah.
know, I can't write about shit that I've no idea. Just
Right.
it's going to come off false to a listener, and also,
Right.
I've never owned a fucking dune buggy and driven through the desert. Right? I've
Yeah.
never been swashbuckling and fought like 10 dinosaurs or fucking
Yeah.
dragons.
Yeah.
So for me, I tend to, what I'm feeling, I'll put it down. And this was just, it was almost, I was a few times like ready just to fucking erupt during
Yeah.
like a 2 year period. Uh, it's so, this has made everything a little bit easier, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, we just played five of the tunes live on Saturday, and singing those live was interesting because I would just close my eyes and kind of think of where I was when I wrote it
Hmm.
and just kind of let it go. And people seem to really, understand it. I played shows where guys have come up and be like, "Hey, man, your album got me through." Like, I went, someone had passed away, or I was so fucking depressed, and I listened to your album every day, and it
Yeah.
got me through. And so I would just, when I was thinking, should I use these lyrics? I was like, well, it'd be a fucking shame if I couldn't, be very honest and write about what I was going through during, that whole period. So, I think, because of the structure and stuff and where my head was at. And then, when we came up with the music and such, they each lend to each other like
Hmm.
amazingly. It was a lot easier than I thought, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Uh, because when we set out to write this album, we wanted something that hit a little bit harder, but excuse me, still something you could shake your ass to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so I wanted, lyrically to tell where I was, but then musically, the four of us combined wanted something that literally like kind of punched you right in the fucking face.
Right.
And when you were done, you're like, oh, I can still dance.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so
Exactly.
emotionally, it kicked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that, I kind of stuck with my guns and kept the lyrics. And when I was in the studio, singing these, I knew what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
I knew, when I wanted to double them. I knew when I wanted to hit certain harmonies,
Yeah.
the call responses, and then a few of them, the end, I was just like, fuck it. I'm just whatever comes to my mind,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And so it's the first album I really kind of trusted, myself, and it's the first album where I actually don't mind listening, to my voice.
Wow, that's interesting because yeah, as an author, I sort of like I well I do enjoy reading some of my stuff, but it takes me about a decade, something I wrote
Yeah,
back in 2014, 2013, and
sure,
during the time I was so self-critical. And then well, this is one of my books. It's called The Doom Hippies. So it's
got
very
it.
very much inspired by Wino and
Sure,
all these cats,
yeah, yeah.
Electric Wizard
Hmm.
is like is I mean, if I made a movie of the Doom Hippies, it would have like soundtrack by Sleep, Electric
Yeah,
Wizard,
sure.
Motorhead, whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Black Sabbath,
Hmm.
because that that process during the time, and a lot of these were informed by trauma. A lot of
Hmm.
my stories and poetry is just like getting out, something. People can be really incredibly fucking cruel, and you just
Yeah,
like, well, what do you do with that? And it's exactly like you were saying earlier before we started recording. You don't want to just be that guy who's just
yeah,
like, oh my God, so my girlfriend left me or whatever, and I'm like so depressed, and it'd be like, yeah, join the fucking club, man.
yeah.
So, people don't want to share your pain. I know so few people are actually compassionate and emotionally
Hmm.
intelligent. They'll be like, yeah, I got my own stuff. So
Right.
what I want to do is like through art, through things like, platforms like Candy Fontaine
Hmm.
Show or Black Diadem Magazine or my anthologies
Hmm.
is give people an opportunity to see things, maybe they're going through something
Right.
and they'll see what I wrote and they'll feel better. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, and even if it's like one person that gets it, that's pretty
right.
fucking great.
It
You know
is.
what
It is. It is. I just really feel fortunate that I'm able to do these things and to have these platforms
Totally.
and interview incredible, artists like yourself. And oh yes, this reminds me, just right before, just like a couple of days ago, I had reached out to Militia Vox from
Okay.
Judas Priestess, and
Yep.
then so that's next.
Oh, right on.
It's
Beautiful.
right, right. I mean, Militia Fox, man, and oh my God, she's so amazing. So yeah, and I'm thinking that stoner rock, doom metal, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
we play rock and roll.
Right.
It is it's sort of counterintuitive because for people who are not fans, there's no way you can explain to them.
Right.
Like I got through my divorce listening to, well, there was vodka, but
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
I, I spent, a lot of time drinking pure, vodka
Yeah.
and listening to My Dying Bride, The Angel in
Yeah.
the Dark River. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this kicks ass. They're so depressing that it
Yeah.
just sort of like something clicks and it's the
Like
override,
100%. Yeah.
right? And it's like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that gets lost on people.
Right.
Um, yeah. So when I was, so we were making this, I was listening to, I think from Todd Rundgren, right? The Jellyfish, the Sly and the
Yeah.
Family Stone, a lot of D'Angelo, like Roxy music,
Oh yeah.
a shit ton of Neil Young,
Yeah.
um, a lot of Prince. But then also growing up, right? You listen to Maiden, you like fucking Van Halen were kings. Uh, and where I grew up, it's a lot of like Skinner, Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker, things of that. But then I would listen to like a shit ton of Joy Division, right? Depeche Mode,
Thank you. Thank
so
you. So
you know,
you'll get it. That's really interesting because I was talking to the Shane Embury from Napalm Death many
hmm
years ago, and he's a big fan of one of my favorite bands, Tangerine Dream,
hmm
right? And those guys that and we work with, like I've said, we work with Jarbo, we work with David J. Haskins, the guy who wrote Bela Lugosi to Dead,
hmm
and it can't get more goth than that. And he
right,
and he and Peter Murphy did a lot of, and of course, Trent Reznor,
hmm
is a huge fan of Joy Division.
yeah,
So, and also, like there's people who belong to different camps and sort of like this, I think it's a false dichotomy, a false binary between, goth and death rock and dark wave
hmm
and metal because, there's so much crossover. In fact, Lemmy was one of the biggest inspirations for Peter Hook,
hmm
right?
yeah, he's huge, yeah,
Yeah, so Hawkwind,
yeah,
Master of the Universe or Psychedelic Warlords,
sure,
all that shit, is
yeah,
just really one of my biggest inspirations, not just as, for as a music fan or a journalist, but
hmm
for life.
sure, yeah, 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 definitely,
Is Motorhead and Dio and Black Sabbath, and I have had the privilege of telling them both, the late great, rest in peace, Dio and
hmm
Lemmy, and Phil Campbell. Unfortunately,
sure,
we just
yeah, I
lost
know,
him too. They're my heart. And I said, Ronnie, man, you just like your music has kept me going. That's why I'm alive now. And then, I talked to Lemmy, and I was like, Lemmy, just thank you. Like, fucking thank you, man. And he said, that's a very nice thing to say. He was not at all, oh, of course.
Sure, yeah. It's just yeah. It's fucking thanks.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's like he did this in the Lemmy movie, which I think was kind of I didn't really like it because it was sort of turned him into a saint, and I think it would be the last thing that he would have
Yeah,
wanted.
right.
But
Yeah.
he says, in the beginning, when they're like Dr. Drew show and they're asking him like or somebody, a fan calls in and they say, what kind of venues do you like to play? And he says, well, it doesn't really matter where we play as long as they go, hoorah.
Yeah, which is fucking the best answer ever.
Yeah, I mean, let me it would have like these one word answers
Yeah,
that
which is
made you feel like kind of stupid, but also he had a way of sort of making you feel both smart and stupid at the same time. I mean,
sure, yeah.
like one of the questions I had. So my best friend for a long time was his publicist, and
Okay.
and uh, and so she told me she actually sent me a pack of playing cards from it's called Jumbo's Clown Room. It's a strip club in LA, in Hollywood, right?
All right.
Jumbo's Clown Room. So 2010 for Metal Maniacs, magazine, I talked to Lemmy and I said, so what's the appeal of like, you know, Jumbo's Clown Room? And he says,
Mhm.
tits, tits. I'm like, I I should have seen that coming.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, why the fuck else am I going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I mean, I said, what about clowns? He said, well, yes, but
It's like, but this is why I go, yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, so anyway, back to Gozu. So
Mhm.
um and so I'm going to go back to my questions
Mhm.
just a moment. Okay, so you mentioned late night self-therapy sessions in a crappy apartment.
Yeah.
What did those nights teach you about your own writing voice?
Ah. Well, when for a while, where I was mentally, not like sleeping and such, uh, I, going through such things, you feel so low, you second fucking guess everything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Oh, am I good? Can I fucking write? Can I even play guitar? Do
Yeah.
people even enjoy like what comes out of my voice? The sound of it and things. Uh, it really taught me to be incredibly true, but also not to the point where I'm like, I hope you fucking get eaten by a mountain lion. You know what I mean? Like, like I,
I would listen to that. I mean, I would listen to the shit out of that song. If you wrote that song, I would play that so hard.
but yeah, so for me, it was really kind of taking shit back to the beginning
Right.
and really, if I felt it, just fucking write it.
Yeah.
Um, and it made me think more. I'll be honest with you, kind of phrasing. Um, really, my influences really came out. I think the strongest on this album. I wanted, especially like choruses and things like that. Um, I would think back. What is stuff that I love to listen to. Um, and why did I dig this? Whether I was fucking 7 years old
Right.
or
Right. Right.
and it all came back to the emotional grip that it had on me,
Right.
and why did I dig it? Right? Why do when I get in the car, I know, oh fuck, I want to hear this. At
Yeah.
52, fucking so the neighbors can hear or such.
Right. Right. Right.
It it made me kind of go back and look at why the fuck did I do this in the first place?
Exactly.
How did I get to where I was, and how am I going to get the fuck out of
Right. Exactly.
it?
Yeah.
And so the lyrically, it's it's all one big story.
Hmm.
Um, and for me to kind of get through those times and for me to be able to sing those tunes, I really kind of had to think about if I was a listener, would I enjoy this? You know, would I want to hear it?
Yeah.
And is this story relatable? And I got, I'm sure it is, but then I felt I was like, well, fuck, hey, this is this is what I'm going through.
Exactly.
So I kind of had to finally be like, you know what? I got to put down what I'm going through. I need to be incredibly honest, and I need really a fucking outlet before I lose my shit. And
Right.
so,
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
so
Yeah.
this is like a culmination of a few years of me just being like, I don't know what
Yeah.
the fuck to do. I'm miserable. I was getting fucked up, so I had to really take a step back.
Right.
My best friend said to me, "You're fucking angry, man. Like
Right. Yeah.
you are really fucking angry, and I'm worried
Right.
about you."
Right.
And that's when I kind of stopped, like, you know, doing a lot of shit I shouldn't. So then I was able to kind of be like, "All right, man, this is this is how I feel." People that care about you are like, "Yo, you might want to fucking just ease up, right?"
Right.
And once I was able to do that, that's when it was like turning on the faucet and just
Yeah.
uh it was, at first I want to be like, fuck you, I'm not angry. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like the way I just fucking, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
but it hit me. I had no fucking comeback. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, yeah, you're right. But sometimes I think you just want someone to say, holy shit, man, you're fucking,
Yeah.
usually, you're really relaxed, but you're angry.
Right.
And so, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I didn't really have any
Yeah.
comeback, and it hit me like it was literally like getting like fucking pistol whipped, and it just from there on, like really my thought process changed. How I observed myself changed. Uh, what I wanted to get out of things, what I wanted to try to achieve musically, and just really be like, the shit that had happened before. I was like, this happened. I could either be a miserable motherfucker
Right.
or I could take all this shit, put it, to paper and hopefully use it. So I tried to really take the shitty, shitty time
Yeah.
and somehow like fucking find my way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And this was the perfect, again, not singing these tunes until I went to the studio. And when I sang it, and then the other, dudes being able to hear this finally,
Yeah.
uh, I was like, okay, I'm all right. Literally,
Yeah.
sometimes you need,
Yeah.
and uh, and so knowing that and knowing how close this shit was, to my psyche, to my heart, to
Right.
really, right down to like, scratching your epidermis. I was like,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna fucking do this,
Right.
I got to put everything into it. So even though like emotionally, it was some of the shit was tough, to sing in the studio just because I mean obviously I wouldn't tell those guys that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, so I was able to kind of find my way like after like it was cathartic, but also I was able to be me again
Right.
because I had lost my way tremendously, shall we say.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have gone in a different direction, I could have written like some bullshit, but it would not
Yeah.
have kind of I think, listening to this, you could kind of tell where I was,
Right.
during that process. So, I'm happy I did it. And I think, going forward now, it's easier to trust, what comes out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I don't say it's part of growing up, but you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I know myself well.
Yeah.
Maybe you fucking don't, So I learned, a shit ton of stuff that I thought I did well, that I learned like, man, I might have been a fucking asshole during that time.
Right.
and it all came back, to kind of me being like, I had to do something, or I probably wouldn't be here today.
Exactly. Yeah.
And coming to that, realization is fucking, it hits pretty fucking hard. Um, but I'm happy where I am now.
Yeah.
Do I still have days I want to fucking throw my computer? Sure, but they're very, very few and far between because I'm able to even, when I'll go through some shit, where before I'd be fucking so pissed for. Now
Yeah.
it's like 25 minutes. Ah, fuck. Okay, what am I gonna do? Right?
Right.
I could let it fucking cause me to be just hide under my desk, right, and fucking roll
Yeah.
around. But now I'm just like, if that didn't fucking break me into pieces,
Right.
I'm okay.
I'm
You know
okay.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
There is there. So I think this is something that people who aren't artists, I think everybody is capable of writing,
one hundred
performing
percent. Yeah,
music. That's the whole punk rock thing too. I mean,
sure.
I've worked with people who are published by and performed with Henry Rollins, for
Right,
example.
right.
Talk about
Uh-huh.
an angry ass dude. And I'd like to give a special shout out to, because I'm going to be sending this, link to her. My friend Trisha Warden. This is from 21361. It's Henry Rollins imprint. And these are some fucking dark ass poems or whatever they are.
Hmm.
You know, um, I'll just read one because it's really short. Dream Glue by Trisha Warden. I'm in the woods watching a group of kids conduct a makeshift burial.
Wow.
Their ages range from 9 to 14, and all of them are packing guns. So
Wow.
that's just one, and she's super fucking dark, man. But and she's also performed with like Exene and
Oh, really?
yeah, and so the people in like my ecosystem, or like people like Iris Berry I mentioned, Carrie Chrome, who
Hmm.
founded the Runaways with Joan Jett, Pleasant Gaiman from Railing Sisters with Pleasant and Iris are practically married, right? And all these
Hmm.
people have been through such trauma in their lives. And I think that people who don't own or identify with as being an artist, there's also this thing about kind of a toxic positivity. I
Sure.
think that more in America than in Europe, because in Europe they've been through, world wars, they've
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You
experienced
still
some,
see the fucking.
you
Yeah.
know, they're not in denial. They don't say, and they gave us existentialism,
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're sort of like, I think we're still kind of stuck in this kind of, also Christianity has a lot to do with it. We're like, yeah, so we'll get through, just put on
Right.
a happy face.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so if somebody, I've had this happen to me. I literally had somebody, threaten to fucking murder me, and they sent me razor blades with instructions. And
Jesus.
and I'm like, holy fucking shit. So this my former colleague and co-editor actually it started out as he was my co-editor of the Black Sabbath tribute, Hand of Doom, a literary tribute to Black Sabbath, featuring John Shirley, the primary screenwriter of The Crow, and you know, a songwriter for Oyster Cult. So this guy was like, and he was directly in collusion with a woman who was business partners with the guy who sent me the razor blades. And
Mm.
I said, okay, so you have to kind of stop whatever you're publishing work with these people. You have to cut your ties with them because they threaten my life.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, because they're publishing me too. And I'm like, so you don't get it, do you? And 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 then he was like, well, don't let you. And he started talking about sobriety to me,
Hmm.
and the what was it, the what's the that the prayer, the Serenity Prayer.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, okay, I have been clean and sober for over a decade. I do not need your Serenity Prayer. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
don't let your anger poison you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not even mad.
Yeah.
I think you may be mad
Right.
because, you are collaborating with people who want me dead.
Yeah. It's
And you
fucked up.
don't get that. You
Right.
don't get it. So, but I pulled the plug on that version. I
Hmm.
lost a ton of authors who went over to the dark side,
Right. Yeah.
but I gained like a whole lot of people who are some of my very best friends, and some of them go way, way, way back, like Paul M.
Hmm.
Salmon, who edited the book Splatterpunk's Extreme Horror, which contained people like Clive Barker.
Hmm.
And he's worked with everybody from David Lynch to David Cronenberg to, and is amazing, amazing. Truly, shout out to Paul M. Salmon. But this kind of thing where somehow artists are sort of almost like the sacrificial lambs
Sure.
of the planet because, you know, y- we can't abide by. I'm not saying that we shouldn't obey social rules
Sure.
or whatever, but we're wired differently. I
Yeah.
mean, if
Yeah.
somebody else would be just like, I don't think many people would be able to handle the shit
Sure.
I've gone through.
Sure.
Um, and you know what? I'm not going to deny, like when my wife cheated on me with like three separate people and demanded that I, bow down and apologize to her and beg for forgiveness. I'm like, you know, this is, people will say the most outrageous things to you, and
Yeah.
you're like, what do you do with that energy? You can't just like hack them up to,
Yeah.
an
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
axe. So you
Right.
write down, I, you know, I want you to fucking die. And then after a while, it's like, hey, that's pretty, would, add some music,
Right.
and like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then pretty soon you got, hey, do you like the band Pig Destroyer?
Yeah.
I just think
Yep.
they're incredibly good. I
Yeah.
mean,
I do.
yeah, they have this song, "The Girl with the Slayer Jacket." I mean, I think they're really funny too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we played it. I don't think we did. I was thinking of another band in at Lucky 13 in New York, but no, it wasn't them. But
What
yeah, no, they're a good band. Yeah, 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 yeah.
what are your favorite, like, okay, shows that you played and bands you played out with?
I love playing with the Obsessed.
Oh
Uh,
God,
yeah,
Wino,
yeah,
Wino,
yeah. I love. Yeah, he's.
he's
We did a
so
month with that.
badass.
Howling Giant. Yeah, why no? I still speak to super, super, super. I mean,
Um,
everyone in that band.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Say hello to him the next
yeah,
time you talk to him.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I think one of the bands that
I mean,
Baroness
for me,
with them.
sorry, I left
Oh,
out the
sure. No,
for
no,
me
I'll
part.
say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Like Baroness,
Yeah.
incredibly amazing, very, very down to earth, super, super nice people. There's a band Howling Giant who super nice kids.
Hmm.
I shouldn't say kids; they're probably in their late 30s, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, Gosh, I mean Dozer, who they're they're kind of one of the founding fathers. We're early, ago with 90s and stuff like that. For that, I guess the stoner rock sort of. We toured with Goat Whore, which was fun as fuck.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Isn't
yeah,
that like some of the guys from Acid Bath?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sammy, yeah, and then the
Sammy.
drummer, yeah, he also plays. So, yeah, so we've been lucky, really, to play with, and then we played festivals with huge acts,
Hmm.
super, super nice. So yeah, we've been really lucky in that vein. Um, Fu Manchu, I love that fucking band.
Oh yeah, me too, man.
You know,
And the cover alone of Godzilla.
yeah, right, yeah, people
Yeah,
love it.
Man.
Yeah. So bands like that. Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. To be even like a band like Roadsaw, who I fucking loved. Scissor Fight, things like that.
Hmm.
So I've been really, really lucky to play with people that been able to have somewhat of a friendship with.
Right.
So which is very, very nice. And you don't take anything for granted. You can play shows and then shit could dry up. So uh, each time you go on a tour, you want to make sure that you come correct. Uh, so with this album, we're playing with Restless Spirit, super nice guys. Uh, we just want to go out and just really kind of bring the goods.
Yeah.
Uh, take it to where I think this album needs to go, and just do it justice.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited. The album itself comes out on May 15th. Our tour goes from May 24th to June 27th, so all
Okay,
across the
cool.
U.S. And so yeah, I'm ready to get on the road and and play.
Yeah. Since
You know,
since I need to ask this question. I don't know how much time you have, but
I few minutes because my 5 o'clock just called me.
okay, cool. So let's spend the rest of the time talking about Iron Maiden because I want to include part of this interview in my Iron Maiden
Uh-huh.
tribute anthology, Revelations, the literary tribute to
Right.
Iron Maiden. And let's talk some Maiden. I know they're huge, for you.
So yeah, so for me, David Constance, fuck, I was probably third grade or something. So there were a few guys that really, really kind of hit me to a lot of good stuff. It was Jim DeLoche,
Hmm.
David Constance, and my friend Chuck Wilcox.
Hmm.
Those guys, got me into. I remember, the first time hearing Number of the Beast, right, and then I went out and got Live After Death,
Yeah.
and man, the fucking. I've always thought the Iron Maiden is the Allman Brothers of heavy rock. They both
Okay.
have that amazing, that gallop,
Yeah.
So for me, it was just when I heard it, I was like, "Fuck, this is spectacular."
Yeah.
And then, you throw in his vocals, and then you throw in the fucking amazing groove, and you got Harris's guitar. That band for me was such an eye opener.
Hmm.
But it just the driving force it would have. I remember getting in the car, when I was younger, and older guys putting that shit on. Next thing you're doing like fucking 90 and a 30. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just because it
Exactly.
was such it's just so forceful, so impactful, but done so well. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, the crispness of it, the sound quality of it, all of that was just for me was so fucking eye opening. That my like heavy wise, right?
Yeah.
They're probably top three for me in regards to bands that, as a young kid, hearing and just being like, "This is fucking spectacular," and
Right.
always loving them. There's some bands you're like, why the fuck was I into that? Maiden is one of those bands where you kind of always come back to. And it's also one of those bands you hear, and man, I remember where the fuck I was when I first heard, Power Slave, right? When I first heard 2 Minutes to Midnight, Flight of Icarus, all those, Hallowed Be Thy Name. That's all stuff. It's as fresh to me now as it was, when I was like a 9, 10 year old kid.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that stuff
Yeah.
has always stuck with me. Um, in terms of drive, in terms of groove. So yeah, Maiden is one of those bands where always, always, always have to come back to because it always hits, a kind of a special place in your soul. So yeah, they could do no wrong in my eyes, shall we say?
That yeah, I mean, I know you have to go and I'm not going to keep you, but I remember when I was in high school, I was like 17, 18 years old, right? And the the new the new Maiden, it was the new
Mhm.
Maiden album, and it was like this total unknown. named
Hmm.
Bruce Dickinson. It's like, who the fuck is Bruce Dickinson, right?
Yeah.
Um, what is it? So that was like 1985. 19 about 14 years later, I'm
Hmm.
sitting at a across, a table from, Adrian and Bruce.
Hmm.
And I'm like, holy fucking shit, man.
All
You
right.
know,
Yes.
they were so nice and British and low key.
Right.
And I was at this radio station guys. They brought a 12 pack, and the Bruce and Adrian were very, very British, very polite,
Hmm.
and we were swilling brewskis and smoking cigarettes, and they were
Right.
sort of like, yes, we are British.
Right.
And so
Right.
it was totally, it wasn't wild at all. It was just they're very nice, very
Matter of fact, yeah.
professional, and very matter of fact. Is Bruce says, well, this is not the kind of drugs that I usually take, like, the odd cup of tea before a
Sure,
concert or
sure,
something.
yeah.
I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, marijuana.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
right.
right,
Yeah.
the what was that, the Long Beach concert, right, with
Oh, yeah. Free from me
yeah,
long. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. For
and
death.
and look at what's happened to the state of the fucking empire.
Yeah.
Never mind, ride
Right.
of the ancient mariner if you
Yeah.
dare.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. It's very, yeah. Yeah. You can't fuck with that.
right. You cannot just unfuck with a bull. Okay,
Yeah.
so
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Mark, quickly, um, we've talked about the new Gozu album, Gozu 6. It's amazing. People need to, learn it, live it, listen to it. Um, Fuck the neighbors. You got to crank this shit, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so how do people get in touch with you? What are your socials,
Sure.
shows that are coming up?
Yep. Yeah. So we're literally on everything. Instagram, uh, Facebook, all of our music is on everything from, Spotify to uh, Amazon, everything. So if you, yeah, it's Gozu Band Boston. And then, we actually we've been doing pre-orders of the brand new album. So the album, yeah, comes out on May 15th, but if you go on Gozu Bandcamp, you can order the album right then and there. And so that's been spectacular. We've already, people have been totally digging on it. So, and then for me, it's just Marc Gaffney on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Is it
I'm not really on a lot of socials.
yeah, are there any like special perks or any planned, like, color, vinyl or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have two different colors. Yeah, we have black, and then we have this really funky bluish and black
Yeah.
splatter. So yeah,
Nice.
we'll be showing off all of that, and it has all, and then obviously inside, we want it to be like, when we were growing up, you pull it out and you see everything, right? You can
Yeah.
read the fucking what pedals we were using, right? What guitars,
Right.
lyrics, where we recorded, with who do we
Right.
think? So I still, get off on that, like getting it out and just fucking reading it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It brings me back to a place of kind of serenity. So yeah, yeah, we and the artwork is amazing. Adam Cutler did it. So yeah, I mean, if you like, a nice design with music that you can get down to, get Gozu 6.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Beautiful. Thank you,
Mark
thank you,
Mark
thank you.
Gaffney. Thank you
Right
so
on.
much. All right.
Thanks, brother. Take care, man.
Cheers. You
See
too.
ya.
See ya.
Bye.